For this painting of clouds on blue sky, I'm keeping it simple with just 3 paint colors: titanium white, ultramarine blue, and Payne's gray. All are artist quality paints, although you could use a student grade acrylic if you'd like. I'm using one brush, a size 8 flat from Princeton's Aspen line, and I'm painting on an 8x8 inch canvas panel, which I've already gessoed. I start by taking some ultramarine blue with a bit of white to create a strong blue for the sky. And I paint negative shapes that I'll eventually paint the clouds into. The nice thing about clouds is that they're kind of odd shapes, so there aren't a ton of hard and fast rules when you're painting, but as we go through this video, I'll share a few tips. For one, keep some sort of a flat shape to the bottom of your clouds. I've kind of broken this rule with the shapes I'm creating, but as a rule of thumb, the tops of the clouds are fluffy and the bottoms of the clouds are somewhat flatter. I'm also imagining that the wind is blowing towards the left of the painting, so the cloud shapes look like they're pulling to the left. Now, I'm not a meteorologist, so I don't know if that's actually how it works with clouds, but I want to give that impression. As you create your shapes, don't worry if they aren't perfect. You can go back and forth adjusting the overall shapes of the clouds as you do all your layers. Another tip is that clouds nearer you will be larger, while further clouds will be smaller. Of course, you might have some smaller clouds near you in the sky with larger ones in the distance, but follow this idea generally. Once you finish painting the sky, take some white paint with a bit of ultramarine blue and begin painting in your cloud shapes. Don't worry yet about putting darker and lighter areas into the clouds, just get some very, very light blue paint all over your clouds. We'll add some darker and lighter paint in later. Feel free to add in some smaller clouds in addition to the ones you painted in during the first step. Now let's start giving these cloud shapes some three-dimensional form with shadows. Take a little Payne's gray and add white to make a pale gray. And consider where the sun is coming from before you apply this gray to your shadow areas. With this painting, it's not noon, it's either late morning or early afternoon, so the sun is above, but I've decided it's a bit to the right. This means the shadows will be at the bottom of the clouds and mostly on the left side. Some shadows will also be seen on the right, it just depends on the shape of the cloud. Without washing a brush, mix in some of the light blue mix. Clouds are often a little bit blue in both the shadow areas and the lighter areas, so bringing in a bit of a light blue-gray can help give the clouds a nice energy. Continue adding layers to your clouds, bringing in some very light blue to the light areas and somewhat darker blue to the darker areas. I'm adding some very, very light blue, almost white, to the areas that would receive the most sun near the tops and on the right of the clouds. When I add light paint to my brush, I generally start with painting the closest clouds because those will generally be the brightest. As you continue applying paint, you'll pick up a bit of blue from wet layers that are already on your canvas with each brush stroke, and your paint will start to get a little bit bluer. This is great for the further clouds because the atmosphere will tint the brightest clouds a little bit blue. Further clouds also won't be as bright as the closer clouds because of that atmosphere. Keep adding layers. Acrylic paints are at their best when layered. Be confident with your brushstrokes and avoid fussing too much. To get the energy of clouds, you want brushstrokes that haven't been overly blended. As you keep adding layers, consider adding some soft clouds alongside your other clouds so you have a variety of edges. I've added in some soft clouds, especially in the distance, to ensure the scene feels cohesive. Softer clouds tend to be thinner, so more blue comes through. This means you want to paint them a light blue and not too white. Using a dry brush can help give you that thin, wispy cloud look too. I'll share one final tip as we get close to finishing this painting. Keep practicing clouds. It can be easy to rely on similar cloud shapes, so practicing a variety of shapes will help you in future paintings, so you won't realize that you've just painted in the same cloud shape over and over. Also, some clouds in nature don't really look real in a painting, so a little bit of practice will help you avoid odd-looking clouds that are really distracting in your painting. Now give your clouds a final touch and then admire your painting of clouds.